Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another discussion video. Today, following what we did with Goku, we're going to talk about the top 10 strongest Vegeta cards in Dragon Ball Super's history. No particular ranking order, but these are the top 10 cards that I see to be the strongest. But of course, if you guys agree, disagree, think of another Vegeta card that I should have put in this list, make sure to leave a comment down below letting me know your thoughts. There's not too much new stuff going on in Dragon Ball Super at the moment. No new card reveals. We've done a lot of Set 13 content already leading up to its release. So I figured it'd be a cool idea if we go through memory lane once again. You guys seem to really enjoy the Goku video, so we'll be doing that again here today. With that being said, make sure to subscribe if you're new here, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys want to help support the channel, if you're looking to add any of these Vegeta cards to your collection or buy any TCG cards for that matter, make sure to use my link in the description to TCG Player. Does help the channel out a lot. That being said, let's get started. We had to start this list off with Set 1 Crit Vegeta, Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. If a lot of you guys are newer to the game, you may have only heard inklings of this, or you may not know that this leader was an absolute force in sets 1 and 2 of the game, right? Especially where I got into Dragon Ball Super in set 2, this was one of the best leaders in the game. Like, you have to keep in mind that when a game first comes out and it's much more simple than it is in modern Dragon Ball Super, the intrinsic rules of the game mean a lot more. What I mean by that is when you're taking damage, getting that damage to your hand is a really big benefit. And if a leader like this that revolves around critical basically comes in and negates that, you're looking at a very, very powerful leader in such a simplified state of the game. Now, this leader had some pretty cool variations back in the day. From what I saw, there were blue-red variants where a lot of people know Further Instruction Champa, right? And how good a card like that, giving double strike to a critical leader, how good that can be. But what a lot of people that are newer probably don't know, there's actually an entire Champa engine, an entire Champa line. There's a one-drop Champa. You can scry top 7, add any Champa, so you were able to search Further Instruction Champa back in the day. That was really strong. Another powerful variant of the deck was blue-green Vegeta with a hand control Broly engine. Keep in mind, like, pairing hand control Broly with a leader that revolves around critical, that's a really powerful engine for resource denial. This leader definitely, jump started the game in a very positive way because a lot of players love this leader, love the deck, and a lot of people just love Vegeta in general, so that's probably a big reason why. But yeah, this leader will always have its mark in the game no matter how old the game gets. Moving along though, we got to talk about Majima Vegeta, and the main reason I wanted to include it is, one, yes, it is a very powerful leader, has a lot of powerful things built into it, but two, it's 10 sets later that Vegeta finally got a good meta-worthy leader. You have to keep in mind that in between sets 1 and 11, there were several years where people were waiting for a really good Vegeta leader. That was a really big call from the community, give us a good Vegeta leader, and we had gotten Vegeta leaders, in between that time, but none of them were really ever that good. None of them were really ever meta worthy. Some of them had some decent rogue strategies. There was like an energy lock deck with one of them. That's a whole nother story for another video. But yeah, come set 11, we finally got Majima Vegeta, and the leader is really strong. It's won several events. It's got double strike built in, which is really nice. Got untapped 2 to its awaken, which is one of the strongest awakens in the game. And it really does take the overlord mechanic, which in a lot of ways, like, is very hit or miss. Some strategies, it doesn't really matter that overlord's a thing. Some strategies like Blue Baby, it's a nice benefit, but Vegeta really takes that mechanic and does it the best because you're able to put those cards at the bottom of your deck, and then your awakened leader can instantly bring those battle cards back, so you're able to keep up this aggressive rush. Majima Vegeta definitely did not disappoint when people were asking for a good Vegeta leader 10 sets later. Moving along, we're talking about Vegeta Reluctant Reinforcements and Time Agent Vegeta in the same slide, and I'll explain that in a second. One thing I want to explain before this though is we are not talking about any Vegeta cards that have Vegeta like in a team up, right? Which is why we're not talking about Vegex. That's a team up between Vegeta and Trunks. But these two cards made their impact in the Vegex deck, and we're going to talk about it. So Vegeta Reluctant Reinforcements is a promo card that wasn't really ever playable until Vegex came out, and particularly Trunks Elite Descendant came out, which eventually went to become limited on the Dragon Ball Super ban list. But that card basically was an overwhelm 3 that brought Vegeta Reluctant Reinforcements out straight from the deck. If your leader's a Black Sand, you mill the top 5 cards of your deck. So in Vegex, where they introduced the Time Agent cards like Time Agent Vegeta, getting that amplified mill on top of your leader already milling 5 allows you to free play so many battle cards because the Time Agents and the Unison for the deck and Spring Kai of Time, they all get played for free when you mill them if your leader is a Black Saiyan. So with that in mind, this combination of cards was just so insane in the Vegex deck. There are so many reasons why Vegex, you know, dominated the formats that it dominated, but these two cards are in no small part contributors to that success. So I did want to talk about them here. Maybe it's cheating, maybe they should have just been like one slot each, or just one or the other, but I feel like both cards were so strong that they had to be mentioned in this video for Vegeta. Next up, we're talking about Vegeta's Final Flash. In extra card version, this card really represents Vegeta really well, because this is one of the best yellow extra cards in the game. Of course, Mecha Frieza, the most recent reboot leader, has taken this card into, you know, new heights. The card is absolutely insane in Mecha Frieza, because unlike every other yellow deck, we have to pay 1 for this card, activating it for free, basically getting a free 15k combo, as well as negating a battle card's skills during battle, ignoring barrier, is an insane effect. But still, you'll see many other yellow decks mainboarding and or sideboarding this card because of its impact. You know, a lot of cards feel kind of weak when they negate skills during battle, and that's only because you're comparing them to the gold standard of Cold Bloodlust, which negates skills upon play. But a card like Vegeta's Final Flash has so many strong applications where your opponent's maybe swinging with a triple striker, you stop the triple strike and take 1 damage, or your opponent has a really annoying barrier battle card on the field that you just need to get rid of. Vegeta's Final Flash is a really good utility card that just helps you in a lot of situations. It's one of the strongest cards on today's list. Next up, talking about Vegeta Unison of Fury. So I feel like this card's iconic because it is one of the first Unison cards we ever seen in the game. And when it was first released, people didn't really see how strong this card was, and it's kind of understandable. It's pretty hard to make this card gain markers because its inherent skills are both minus marker skills. It does have an activate main that gives it markers, but generally when you give it a marker, you can use the -1, which, you know, does make you essentially even out on markers. But this card is a yellow staple as long as decks like Dark Broly are in the meta, which at the time of posting this video, Dark Broly is one of the top decks of the meta. This is one of the ways that yellow is able to deal with battle cards that are just way overcosted or being cheated in way too early. So this card, being as powerful as it is, also serving as a really strong game ender. I personally kind of, you know, felt that when I was playing blue yellow skillless Gohan. This is actually my main like boss monster, quote unquote, and you wouldn't really think that just looking at a 2-drop 15k like dinky Unison, right? But the -3 is absolutely insane, tapping your opponent out, 20k dual attack double striker on top of any other established board you might have. This card is absolutely incredible. Then we have SS Vegeta Exploiting Weakness. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, I think people might disagree with this, but I think there are a lot of people that would agree with this. This card, in many ways, defined Set 9 format with Surge Goku and Surge Piccolo. Let me explain. So, if you were playing Surge Goku back in that time, which I exclusively played that deck in that format, you really had to play around this card carefully because, yeah, you were able to establish really strong boards between Raiders Warcries and other battle cards you're able to play in that deck, but you couldn't overcommit to a board because at any point, if your opponent had Vegeta Exploiting Weakness to counterplay you, you could just lose the game outright. It honestly really reminds me of GOAT format Yu-Gi-Oh!, which I know we just did a video talking about GOAT format DBS and its comparison to GOAT format Yu-Gi-Oh! One of the things you have to play around in that format of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Heavy Storm, so you can't just set like all your spells and trap cards to the board because you can get blown out by Heavy Storm. Similar comparison to Vegeta here, where if you establish too many battle cards and your opponent counterplays with this and you don't have a way to stop this card, which think about how crazy that format was. There were even ways to stop this card from wiping your board, but it just became this insane back and forth that if you fell victim to this card, you were going to probably lose the game and fall way too far behind. Next up, we have Vegeta Inspired Technique. So this obviously represents Invoker, but this card coming out definitely made its landmark in DBS for many reasons. Firstly, Barrier Deflect. When this card came out, this is one of the first cards of its kind to have this much protection where it wasn't affected by counterplays, and it's just incredibly hard to remove via normal means because of the barrier. But obviously the Invoker made this card even bigger of a headache. Invoker has done very well in several formats, so this card, no surprise, representing Vegeta in a strong light. Then we have Vegeta the Cruel. So this card was introduced when counterplay at least was being revolutionized in the game. Wasn't necessarily new, but there were very few counterplays in the game before Vegeta the Cruel and cards like it came out. but in green multicolor decks, this card was an absolute force. You had to very strongly worry about any 4-drop or less battle card you were going to play to the board, because not only was Vegeta the Cruel going to pop it, but it's also going to make you lose a card from your hand. This card will definitely go down as one of the strongest Vegeta cards of all time for the impact it had on the formats it was in. But I think if multicolor ever makes strong comebacks, I think Vegeta the Cruel will be a solid card you're definitely going to want to consider in those decks. Then we have Cost Vegeta, guys. This card I think is a little bit iffy, but in my view, it is one of the strongest Vegeta cards in the game, giving you insane Self-Awaken, taking 2 life. When at the time this card came out, there were far less options for Self-Awaken, you have to keep in mind, than we have in modern Dragon Ball Super. Today it feels like any deck can Self-Awaken whenever they want, but back then it was a little bit tougher to meet. But you also have to keep in mind this deck, this card was played in the Shenron Wish deck, which at the time had Battery Laser. So not only were you going for game with Gogeta Hero Revive, which ripped your opponent's hand apart, but if Gogeta wasn't a valid option to go for game with, you had Cost Vegeta gaining triple strike, and you also had Battering Laser to back it up. Now, when Battering Laser did get banned, this card definitely saw several drops in power, but it was always a decent fusion option for Gogeta Hero Revive. So I think it's one of the most iconic Vegeta cards in the game's history. And wrapping up, guys, we do have some honorable mentions. I do want to throw shout outs to Vegeta striving to be the best. This card, being a barrier answer, was definitely one of the first of its kind, so very strong impact there. Vegeta Prince of Speed, one of the first cards to ever come out in Dragon Ball, came out in the first structure deck. Besides the insane artwork, being a 5-drop boss monster that allowed you to draw 2 cards made this card very, very strong in that format. And then Glory Obsessed Prince Destruction Vegeta essentially came out and power crept this red Jiren 4-drop. Essentially does the same thing as that Jiren, but costs 1 less energy, and this card saw a lot of play in red decks around the time that it came out. But anyways, guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed this stroll on memory lane. Once again, if I missed anything or you think another Vegeta card should be on this list, let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.